Welcome back, KP. Been a while since we last had a chat.
Busy, ruling the interwebs and failing to get Senpai Delancey to notice you. Can take a lot out of you.
I can imagine. So, tell me what's on your mind.
So it's no secret that I have a team of people that help me produce my content, from artists to editors to animators and whatnot. But lately, I don't know, I feel like people aren't having as fun anymore or see me in a negative light. I mean, every 6 months or so we have spots open for new people due to the nature of a volunteer gig, but in some ways I feel like I'm disappointing some of them. Sure, things come up, but what if the reasons they leave aren't solid? It takes a lot of time and heart to want to volunteer for me, and by me giving hard work and seeing some of them leave, I feel like I'm disappointing fans who generally like my content and see the business side of me, and I'm feeling bad about it.
I see. Well, I suppose I can relate to many of those experiences you mention. I've probably worked with more people in collaboration projects than any other brony YouTuber out there, at least as far as I've seen. I have been immensely grateful for so many wonderfully talented artists, editors, voice actors, animators, and so forth who have wanted to help support the work. I know that I couldn't have come anywhere near as far as I have without their help. And for the most part, I have maintained good working relationships with those who have contributed their talents. But every so often, someone who started out so excited with adding their creativity to these projects eventually reaches a point where, as you've stated, it's no longer fun for them. Sometimes encouraging them to pursue their own original ideas helps to restore their creative drive, and later on they ask whether they can contribute their skills again. Though on occasion there have been those who simply move on, and I rarely, if ever, get the chance to speak with them again. It certainly hurts whenever I think of those situations because I keep saying to myself that I could have done something different to make them feel more appreciated or help them to restore their creative drive for the work. You mentioned that this has been happening every 6 months or so? I don't suppose you've managed to improve your own talents by working with so many other people over these past years.
I suppose so, as far as learning to manage and work with people for efficiency and to feel people out, as it were. But because I work with so many people, it's hard for me to have some kind of relationship with just one person. And you can imagine it gets overwhelming. And sometimes people just see the business side of me because that's the nature of things. But I do know it's a pain every time we feel the need to hire new people, because then the speculation, the rumors start, and I wonder if I should just learn how to do everything myself and be done with it. I do put people through the ringer of the application process every time, and that has improved over time, but I guess I'm just tired of a revolving staff. And I'm wondering if I'm doing the right thing and if people get something out of this, or I'm just lazy. I just don't want any bad blood or negativity anymore.
I suppose you're describing a similar issue that many new leaders have to face at some point. How to motivate others. And really, that sort of discussion can cover a broad range of topics. However, I think I can give a few suggestions, and you can see whether or not these happen to work for you. I suppose first off, I should mention that people don't tend to follow a title as much as they follow someone they respect. Both you and I have gained a bit of a following in this community, and that certainly can hold some sway with people, at least in the short term. The glamour of taking part in a project that gets thousands, if not tens of thousands of views can be very exciting. But I've learned from personal experience that that cannot be the priority in the long run. I've managed to keep up a rather vigorous upload schedule because I enjoy the work far more than I'm looking to become famous. But then, finding others who enjoy the work you do won't ever become an easy task. The alternative is to make them feel as though what they do matters, in more ways than because they get to see their work on display in front of an audience. If you're looking to have others respect the work you do, then they'd need to feel that any task you give them is something you'd be more than willing to do yourself. This does not mean that you should expect others to do everything that you expect from yourself. Only that you shouldn't ask others to do something that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. Now, in both of our cases, our skills for creating content only reach a certain point. We work with artists, editors, voice actors, animators, and so forth because we lack the skills, experience, or even just the raw talent that others possess. But even though we don't have those abilities ourselves as of yet, it is vital to show that we are willing to put in as much work, if not more, than anyone else who works with us. More than anything else, that is what will help earn the respect of those you work with. And when you continually show a genuine appreciation for anyone's contributions, large or small, that tends to help them feel as though they are serving a good purpose. We may not be able to provide that which others want most from us on occasion, as every situation is going to be different. But when you look back on earlier projects, do you suppose that you might have done more to help others feel great value in the work they provided?
Could have, on hindsight, yes. I'm so concerned that a project needs to be done on time that I get lost in shuffle. But at the same time, I find that working with someone who is actually going to turn up something is just as hard as building those relationships. I tend to get frustrated, and I'm sure you will as well, if someone can talk the talk, but at the end of the day they don't promise what they could have and ends up delaying a project. That's one of the reasons I have adapted the approach I have now. Do you ever have that problem?
Ah, yes. That has happened more times than I would have liked. People who show great promise and excitement at first, and then take so long to even get started that they begin overestimating their abilities. Or worse, those who get halfway through a project and then decide they're no longer interested in finishing, and we have to start again from scratch. I do all that I can to help encourage others who are struggling, but I simply cannot see all ends. I suppose the best way to prepare for those situations is by having backup videos available at any and all times. I may have anywhere from 6 to 12 collaboration projects going on at any given time, but I still have the capability to make videos of my own, all on my own. It really comes down to never allowing yourself complacency, never allowing yourself to depend on any one project to keep things going at any given time. After all, that's one way to show that those you are working with that you are putting in more effort on your channel than anything they're contributing. Do you suppose that might help with any future projects? Give you more of a buffer so that you don't need to push anyone to complete anything by a specific time?
It's great advice for things like my radio play that don't have a deadline and have no rush to come out, but weekly reviews have a strict deadline that's unavoidable. Off-season is nice because if one video is late, then you can combat it with another, but on-season there's really no way to get around it, unfortunately. The only thing I find that helps is everyone is working on one aspect of a video to get it done faster, and that usually works, sometimes. I do my part and help whoever I can, but things still happen. That's the other thing. I feel like the pressures of me, plus the weight of a whole team on one person causes them to be stressed, and no one likes that.
Well, part of that has to do with proper planning, I suppose. And I hope all this experience is helping you to learn how to predict which parts of which projects are going to be the most time-consuming or difficult overall. I can imagine that there are a great many business majors who would have loved to have the kind of hands-on work experience you're getting right now. You're learning firsthand just how you can overcome struggles of motivating others, which can actually be far more valuable than taking a class on that same subject. Perhaps you hadn't expected things to turn out this way, and I'm sure there are many, many ways in which both you and I can improve in these areas when it comes to running a YouTube channel. The pressure and the stress is challenging, that's for sure. But we tend to grow the most whenever we are willing to step outside of our comfort zones in order to improve our skills. We have been given very unique opportunities that only a select few others have. I intend to make the very best I can of it. And because of those challenges, I know that I've accomplished so many things that I never thought myself capable of. I would think that you've reached higher than you thought possible as well?
It's true. I mean, coming across these pony fan animations, I never thought my character would be the star of one. But back on subject, I feel bad because in this brief of time people work with you on your content, they tend to judge your character and demeanor with that interaction. Let me give you an example. While browsing YouTube one day, I came across a video that had me as a subtopic. One of the comments of the video had something along the lines of, "I think everything is stressful, and no one believes me." Now, I barely remember working with this person, and I only remember the asset they were working on was really late and I was probably stressing out about it. It just bothers me that someone would use that sort of experience to judge me as a person. It's just really frustrating, and I feel like there's no way to get around it. I think of other people like this, who get aggravated with my expectations and leave my team or are just interested in helping. Have I let people down? But then to think of my current team who has such a fun time making content and working for me, and their work is being appreciated by a bigger audience. Am I a bad guy or a good guy?
It can be good to step back and question your actions from time to time. Sometimes the thoughts, suggestions, and even opinions of others can help us to grow. But you also need to keep the majority in mind whenever you come across a negative comment. There are many, many people who encourage the work we do because they enjoy the work we do. They want us to continue growing, improving, and become even greater. It can be hard to remember that whenever we come across a negative comment, though. After all, dozens of people sending their praises can often be drowned out by a single person who sends their doubts and complaints. I still believe in the work you do, Miss Possible, and given that you were one of the very first YouTubers who I collaborated with, I can tell just how much more you've become since then. And I believe that, more often than not, the people you've worked with have managed to improve upon their talents as well. I hope you can remember that the next time you step back and think about your past actions.
I suppose, but sometimes you just gotta relate with Luna. Thanks, I do feel better now that it's not just me who has these experiences. I'm trying to learn how to be a perfect leader, but even I still have my limitations, and I guess I'm just more driven long term because it's my channel. Do you think you've grown from working with other people in the community and learned how to combat both poor work ethic and a bad word of mouth?
I know I have. I won't say that it ever gets easy, but everything I've gone through is absolutely worth that pain and doubt. There is a great deal more than I can yet learn, though I can say that I'm looking forward to it all the more now than when I first started out. I eagerly await what the future may hold, and I hope that you feel the same, Miss Possible, both the good and the bad. Shall we continue on this next week?
Sure thing. Until then, Senpai, why won't you acknowledge that I made this big YouTube video for you on all these people ponies and it's not fair?
Best of luck to you, KP. It's good to be helping.